Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. All praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we send our greetings and salutations to our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, viewers, welcome to 60 Minutes with myself, Mumin Khan, and every week, every time I come on the show, I will have a special guest, a very special guest, to talk about how they're spending Ramadan to start with, but also to talk about their exciting life, amazing life, inspirational life. So each time that I'm on the air with this 60 Minutes with Mumin, we'll have a special guest, something that you can take away with you, something that you can relate to, and of course, something that you can also ask them a question. This is a live show where you will be able to interact with my guest, with myself, in the studio itself. So I hope you are having a great Ramadan. We are now on the 15th night of Taraweeh, and we just completed the 14th, or will be completing the 14th Ramadan, inshallah. So let me introduce you to my guest. My guest today is a very humble, a very noble, a very wise person, somebody who I always look up to, and since I've known him for the last good few years, is Dr. Muhammad Didi. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Didi.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Very good to have you on the show, and thank you for coming to the show. And I have to tell the viewers that I recruited you about an hour and a half ago, and you responded to the call. That is what is called a noble person, a wise person, a person who doesn't want to say no, but wants to help and wants to participate in programs for others.
I was actually very busy at the time you called, but I could not say no to Abdullah Quilliam. So that's
Allahu Akbar. Can you see that? He could not say no to the Abdullah Quilliam Masjid's work, and he was very busy, and he lived. That is what you call commitment. No wonder I said he's a humble person, a wise person. A wise person would never say no as long as they're able to do so. So thank you so much. And here I am. Here we are. You've been. How long have you been attached with the masjid now? Must be about 3 or 4 years now.
Oh, more than that.
More than that. Yes. And how did you find about the First Mosque? Because I know you don't live in Liverpool area. You live in Warrington area. So therefore, how did you first? Can you remember how was it through Felicity House or something that you picked up a brochure from there or a leaflet?
I think I just was reading about masajid in Britain and came across Abdullah Quilliam as the first masjid in Britain.
Wow!
And I thought I had to come and see the masjid.
Don't forget, viewers, you'll learn more about Dr. Didi. He is the person who has a lot of knowledge about a lot of things, and he likes reading. I'm guessing you love reading, and we'll go into that in a moment. But first, let me introduce you. I haven't introduced you. Dr. Didi is a consultant, a specialist in pediatric, specializing with children with hormones, known as endocrinologist.
So basically, I'm a pediatrician who specializes.
Oh, pediatrician, not pediatric. Right, okay.
Yeah, who specializes in problems of children with hormone problems.
Okay, right. Lots of hormone. Do you get a lot of cases with children with hormone problems?
Yes, you do. In fact, you'll be very surprised to know that, say, a baby weighing half a pound or a pound, whose hand would be the size smaller than the first part of your thumb.
Wow.
Those babies, they have lots of hormone problems.
Wow. You know, it amazes me. One of my niece was, premature born, and it's like a little duck, when we saw her in the incubator in Birmingham Hospital, Coventry Hospital, sorry, and I was really, really shocked. And now when you see her running 3 years old, you think, was that girl in there? And how do the doctors, this amazes me, how do they find the veins in the child who is his vein hasn't even been, you can't even see them.
Yes.
How do you manage to get all these needles and things like that feed into the baby?
Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
Allah
does it.
subhanahu.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. I'm absolutely amazed. As a young doctor, I would fly across to some hospital in some distant part, and I have no idea how I got those things in. But,
Amazing. Have you throughout your career, have you always been in medicine, or have you ever done any other jobs before you came
no,
into medicine?
I've always wanted to do medicine, and alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enabled me to do that.
Fantastic. I didn't know when I was a child. I wanted to be a doctor, but it didn't happen. But anyway, my son is gearing up to
Inshallah.
similar. Wants to be a doctor too. So let's come back to, of course, this is Ramadan now. We'll go back to your childhood in a moment. Let's talk about your how you're finding this lockdown Ramadan, and of course fasting, as well as you as a very important job as a consultant. How do you manage to balance the two, keeping Ramadan, praying, and then doing the job at the same time, which is very critical jobs that you do? How do
Yes.
you manage?
Yes, this is an interesting question. I have to say it is not easy. It is not easy. It is not easy. But if you'll forgive me for saying that, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who enables these things. You make your niyat and you're determined not to let your siyam go. And alhamdulillah, you have to organize yourself. I have to say this year has been more difficult than last year, because last year we could not go to the masjid.
Of course,
So,
yes.
You had to do everything at home. So it was easier to. This year, masjid are open. So I think most adult Muslims will want to go to the masjid and do these things. So it's more difficult. But alhamdulillah, it's been managed. So far, I've managed to do it.
Fantastic. This is really good. No, I think you have a real sense of commitment to what you do, and that's what I've noticed in you. If you say I'm going to do something, alhamdulillah, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Whether it's raining or shining,
Inshallah.
Dr. Didi will be there if he says he's going to be there. I was thinking about the show. I said, who shall I get? One of my guests cancelled it, and then it's amazing. I can only have one guest in the show, and if that person cancelled in the last minute, something happens, who do I get? It's a live show as well. So I thought, okay, no, it's going to be Dr. Didi as my first guest. So you've called you've made my day, to be honest with you. Now, in terms of, I want to, how long? So you've been coming to the Abdullah Qilla Masjid as Britain's first mosque, and you found out through reading the books.
Yes.
And so forth. And of course, you are. I have to tell the viewers, since Dr. Didi has been in as a very generous person, his contribution is undescribable. May Allah give him barakah for that. But also Dr. Didi has helped us. You've helped us with our events, our program, and of course you're also one of our senior advisor to the masjid, to the trustees. How do you feel about being, hands-on, physically involved with Britain's first mosque, which was established by Sheikh Kuliam 1887, 134 years ago? What sort of, despite you being so busy, how do you relate the two, and how do you find yourself?
I think that Abdullah Quilliam Masjid, it's a very special place. I always say to my friends, this was a masjid that had been completely demolished, and there was no dhikr, no salah in this masjid for 106 years. And Abdullah Quilliam, may Allah have mercy upon him, I'm sure he had no idea that this would happen.
Yeah.
And we must not forget the person who started this, Mr. Akbar.
Of course.
It was
Mr. Akbar Ali.
Akbar Ali. It was his vision, and people followed him, and you are in the forefront of it now. And what I've always said to my friends is, just come and do salah in this masjid. And I have never entered this masjid without seeing another person doing salah or reading Quran, and that is dhikr. And here is a masjid that does adhan 5 times a day.
Yeah.
And there is a sakina about the building. So I was drawn to it. I can't describe how it happened.
Absolutely.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now that we are talking about love for this masjid,
Yes.
can I relate an event?
Of course. This is a reality show. This is a real live show where you open your chest as much as you want. The viewers will be looking. Let me just give one message to the viewers. If the viewers would like to give us a call and you would like to have any questions for Dr. Didi or myself, please call the number 0151 260 3986. We can take the live call as well for you. So if you have any question that you'd like to ask, please do so. Can you take any medical questions if they want to ask?
Inshallah.
So if you are worried about anything to do with hematologists, about your child or anything like that, please feel free to call. Dr. Didi is a pediatric consultant hematologist. Am I right?
No, endocrinologist.
Endocrinologist who specializes in
hormone problems in children.
Hematology is to do with blood, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm got it wrong. Sorry, Sheikh Wada, could you ask Hamza to put the telly up for us, please? Inshallah. Okay, so there we go. Relate the event that you'd like to.
Yes, it is to do with the Abdullah William Masjid. I have to say, my recollection is that I was 12 or 13 years old, certainly not 15. One holiday, I was just walking towards a bookshelf, and I saw a book that was thrown on the floor, and it was my neighbor's book. And I thought, what is that book? And it said, The Meaning of the Glorious Quran.
Wow.
And it was a book written by Marmaduke Pickthall. And I picked this book up. And I always say to every friend of mine and my brothers and sisters that it was absolutely a ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Marmaduke Pickthall was a literary person. He wrote in almost Shakespearean English in the book.
Yes.
And I picked this book up and I read it, and I was enthralled by the book.
Wow.
And I was completely captivated. I did not put this book down, except to go to sleep, to eat, or to go to the toilet. Wow. And I guess Salah would be somewhere there, stopping. And I read this book, and I have tried to read this book as an adult, and it does not have the same attention, draw me in the same way as it did on that day.
Sure.
And the connection with Abdullah Quilliam is that Marmaduke Pickthall was a great friend of Abdullah Quilliam, and wanted to be buried next to Marmaduke Pickthall. So I was this little boy in a far-off land reading this book.
Yes.
And did I ever imagine that I would come to Liverpool and find a mosque that was built by Abdullah Quilliam?
Yes.
And I have to honestly say, I never ever thought that would happen. But that has a special love and connection to the masjid. And the truth is, this book is tattered. I read it as a 12-year-old, and I carry it to every country. I've been a real rolling stone, moving from one country to the other, and that book has not left my side. And
Wow.
it is my most treasured possession today. Inanimate
Wow.
object
And
that
you
I
and
got.
you still got that intact
Yes,
in
yes,
perfect condition. And
It's not in
readable
perfect condition because
You
I
can
have read
read
it
it.
several times.
Yes, of course.
But I
But you
have the
can
book.
read it's readable.
Yes,
It's
yes.
readable.
It is still available. The book is still available.
This is amazing. This is amazing that you, as a 12-year-old, picked up that Quran, which was on the shelf somewhere.
It was an
dust.
English translation. It's not a
Of course,
Quran.
it's,
Yeah,
English translation by Mamadou Picton.
Yeah.
And you haven't even come to Britain. You don't even know who
No,
Mamadou Picton
no,
is.
no.
You just happened to pick it up.
Yeah.
And you got so many years later, you come to Britain, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then connects you to this First Mosque. And you find the establishment of the First Mosque was a great friend of the man who translated
Yes,
the Quran.
yes.
Alhamdulillah. And he's also most likely is buried next to him as well. So, but that's the secondary matter. But the first matter is that you read a book, somebody you're inspired by, and then you end up in a place which is related to. That's amazing.
Yes.
That is an amazing story. Great. Now let's have a look at see if you can recognize some of those people. Maisara Mustafa, that Mo Didi we know. Yeah, Muhammad Didi we know. Do you know the person?
Yes, my son.
Same attitude in hospital. Oh gosh, always available and supportive. Yeah. And then you got Stanley Benya, Assalamu alaikum, and giving you Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Forerunners in the Abdullah Kulam Society. Yes, of course, the olive tree, Sister Samaya, Brother Rashid, and of course our late our chairman, Dr. Akbar Ali, Ghalib Khan, and few others were the founders of the refounders of the
Yes.
Abdullah Kulla Mosque. You are right, Sister Amina Skarsbrick. Yes, I'm very too well versed with that. Yes, because I have been involved with the project since 2002 in active participation, and so there was nothing happening, and that's when I became involved with that. So I've been with it for 18 years now, almost from the inception. Apart from they founded the organization in 1997 or 98, but nothing happened. It took a long time to argue with the council that this is the first mosque.
Yes.
So we got everything sort of sorted with a year lease was about 2002.
Yes.
So alhamdulillah, but we've come a long way. We didn't have
Indeed
a
we
single
have.
penny. I would talk about this great man, Akbar Ali Saab, on a different day. He's a story on his own.
On his own.
On his own.
A visionary.
A visionary institution builder.
Yeah.
The mayor's office called him the institution builder, man who built institutions. So he's the founder of Penny Lane Masjid. He's also the co-founder of or one of the founding members with Ali Hijam Saab in Ar-Rahma Mosque. He's also the founder of the First Mosque in Manchester as well, among many other charities.
May Allah have mercy on his
He's the
soul.
founder of Muslim Enterprise
Yes.
Development Service. So we can talk about him another time. But I think it's important to mention that the man who was holding the other trustees from Olive Tree and others, Brother Zia was also another one, Dr. Muhammad, Ghalib Khan, 7 or 8 of them. Oh, of course, you know Sheikh Ibrahim, don't you?
Yes, of course.
His father, Captain
Yes.
Miftah,
Yes.
was one of the striker of
Yes.
this team.
Yes.
So there was about 8 or 9 of them there.
Yes.
He was there as well. A great man. I can talk about him all day, another day as well. Captain
Absolutely.
Miftah, the father of our beloved Sheikh,
Yes.
Sheikh Ibrahim Wasifa.
Yes.
A great man.
May Allah have mercy on his
Inshallah.
soul.
So, brothers, if you have any question that you'd like to ask to do with hormones of your child or anything like that, feel free to ask. We have the consultant endocrinologist with us who knows a specialist about hormones. Okay. So this is really good. Dr. Didi, can I ask another question? Can I talk to you about your childhood? What sort of childhood did you have? And I know there was an incident that happened which more or less may have changed your life. Would you mind talking about that at all?
Yes.
As a child when you were growing up, in your time, what was the childhood like in the era that you grew up? First thing,
Right.
and then the event that happened subsequently.
That's a very important question. I mean, we may have viewers who are students.
Yeah.
We may have viewers who are quite young children. And what I would say to all of you is that today, education is a right. We have a right to education. I am from a country very, very far away. And when I was a child, education was a privilege. It was not a right. People who were highly privileged had the chance of an education. So it is very important. I want all the children and young people to value this. For you, education is a right. And for me, it was a privilege. And without personalizing it too much, many young boys and girls, we had a very difficult ladder to climb because most of us were not privileged. And it was a tough game.
Tough time.
And education is a right. My daughter, who is a very clever girl, but she does not touch a book, and I often joke and say, if a book fell from above and hit you on the head, you would not recognize it.
Yeah.
After her A-levels, she went abroad and spent some time. And as she walked into the room, into our home, from her period of leave, I think she spent 8 months in Sri Lanka teaching children.
Yes.
And she said, Dad, I would never take education for granted again. And this was an absolute surprise to me. So I would like to encourage everyone to value the fact that education is right for you and not waste it.
Yes, absolutely. So viewers, I'm sure you've heard very clearly what Dr. Didi have said. In his time, definitely education was not freely available. It was a privilege. Now we take it for granted that our children must go to school or we get fined for it. In those days, that wasn't available. If you go back in Britain, say for about 1800, even early 1900, or up to before the war, situation was similar to what I am. Education was not free, and up until after the war, I guess. Nor was the healthcare system. So things were very tough when Abdullah Kuliam was running the institutions, and he saw the imbalance, inequality within poor children, and hence he set up an orphanage where there were 200 boys in boarding who were learning maths, English, and science. Not necessarily turn them into Muslims, but give them other etiquette and bring them into good humans. Of course, he did also have 300 girls who were doing day schools as well. So again, those children who did manage to come to Abdullah Kuliam were the privileged, I would say, and those who couldn't were underprivileged in some ways. So very interesting that you said. Now, there is one question, let me answer that. There is a brother who says Abdullah Khan. Okay, I know I'm wearing the Abdullah Kuliam's hat. My name is Mumin Khan, and he's saying, where am I originally from? I'm originally from Bangladesh, Indian subcontinent. Okay, I speak Bengali, Urdu, Hindi, and English, of course. So if you would like to speak to us, any of us, myself or Dr. Didi, feel free to. Abdullah Khan, no, was that for me?
Dr. Didi, I think.
But he says, Abdullah, where are you originally from? Okay, we'll answer both. So I'm from Bangladesh, Indian subcontinent. Dr. Didi, where are you from originally?
I'm from the Maldives Islands.
Maldives Islands?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was Sri Lanka all this time.
No.
Maldives, the islands of the heavens, they call it, isn't it? So we'll talk about Maldives Islands in a moment, viewers. If you got any questions about Maldives Islands, why don't you pick up the phone, 0151 260 3986. We have the real Maldives here, sitting here to talk to you about. Now tell me about the incident that more or less changed your life or perception. How old were you when that happened, if you want to talk about it for our viewers?
Yes,
Tell
it's
us.
an interesting incident. Basically, I was a little boy, and my mother wanted me to learn Quran. So what she did was she sent me to my grandfather.
Right.
And the island on which my grandfather lived was about 400 miles.
Wow.
And we would travel in little boats and
Dinghies.
bigger boats.
Now that you said you're from Maldives, I
Yeah.
can picture the island.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So we went across, and I think I was 3 years old, because my furthest memory
3 years.
is of entering of the boat drawing into. Actually, the boat was being. It was being rowed into
Rowed.
the island
Okay,
from a
yes.
particular. But it used sails before that, but once it gets into the vicinity of the island, they would row. And my furthest recollection is of these people singing and rowing, drawing us
Yeah.
into this island. So, and then I spent about a year there, and then decided to go back to my mother. So we started off in a fairly big boat. It's not a boat. It's something between. It's almost like a dhow. It's with big sails.
Okay, right.
And I think we set off with something like 21 days of rations. Maybe the trip was 14 days. This is a child's recollection.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's like you have to be in that boat for
21 days,
21 days.
14 days. Yeah.
14
So
days.
shall we say 14 to 21 days is the trip, and we
Okay.
had food for that, and we left, and we hit I would say a cyclone, and it completely ripped the sails off. It broke the mast, and we were then adrift, and we ran out of food. And I know we ran out of food because the children on the base, and all my brothers and my sisters were there. My brother wasn't there. My sisters were there.
So was that a private boat where
Yes,
you just
it
had
was.
your own family members in there?
Yes, yes.
So who was in that boat? So yourself,
I think my sisters, myself, my uncle. He was
Okay,
he
you
was
immediate family.
he was the captain, as it were.
Uh-huh.
And there were other sailors,
Sure.
other sailors.
Yeah.
But my aunt was also with me.
Mm.
Anyway, we ran out of food because I know we ran out of food because the food was then rationed, and only the children. We came to the point at which only the children ate, and the rest of the adults did not eat. They just
You
drank
miscalculated
water.
the,
No, there was no miscalculation.
Was it the drift?
No, it was that the sails were ripped off, the mast was broken.
Wow.
So the
boat was
vehicle was adrift. There was no way.
There's no
And
way.
you were on the high seas. You couldn't row that. And it was too big to row anyway.
Yes.
So we then drifted and finally drifted into Sri Lanka.
Right.
And then my father got wind that we were in Sri Lanka, and he came and picked us up. And anyway, one thing led to another. I went to Sri Lanka to study, and that might be why you thought that I was a Sri Lankan.
Of course. Yeah, I thought you were.
And then came to Britain, and then came to Abdullah Quilliam Masjid.
Yes.
And
Did you-
and very importantly, I was busy at work, and a brother called Mumin rang me, and he said, "Will you come? I'm in trouble. 7 o'clock in 1.5 hours. You need to pull me out of trouble." And I dropped everything, and subhanallah, I think I'm completely mad. I should have said, I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Noble person would never say sorry or never say no, as long as physically they're able to come. And you are one of those noble persons.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
All this
What's-
flattery is getting you everywhere, brother
No,
Mumin.
it's the truth. One of my personal thing is that I try and stick to the truth when I'm giving comment of a person. So if you're lying, you'll get caught somewhere down the line. And if you're telling the truth, it's always, I don't have to think about it when I meet you or when I meet a person. So the beauty about speaking the truth, it's consistent across the board. And if you are a public figure in the community, you don't have to worry about who you said to who. Otherwise, I would go, if I was to lie different thing to different people, I'd probably go mad. I'll be ending up in the mental asylum.
Yes.
And you might be one of those doctors, well, one of the psychiatrist doctors will have to treat me. But to keep, when you're working, from my own experience of 30 years of community work, the best thing to do is to simplify oneself. Like I simplify myself and say, I don't have this attachment. I don't have to lie about people. I don't have to backbite about your things to somebody else, All these things come back. So the best thing to do is be your person, be the honest as you see it, speak the mind. And that way you are happy day in, day out, and it doesn't trouble me at all.
Alhamdulillah.
So alhamdulillah, that's a simple philosophy that I picked up myself as a young person while I was working in the community since the age of 18. So I've been volunteering since the age of 18 while I was still working on my day off and so forth. But that's someone can interview on a different day, I suppose. But today we have you as the great person. My next question, did you not say at one point, was the boat drowned? Did you lose any casualties?
Well, yes. I mean, if you're drifting and you run out of water, and we were almost, I think we probably ran out, we didn't completely run out of water. But I do remember watching 2 people die.
Wow.
I think one probably had acute appendicitis and peritonitis and died in retrospect.
Yes.
Because it was very vivid. It was something very vivid. I was a little boy, probably 4.5.
Yeah.
And I remembered all the details, and now I can make out that this person probably had acute appendicitis and peritonitis and died.
So they didn't die of hunger or anything, but it was medically related.
In his case, but there were lots of other adults who were hungry because they didn't have any food. They just drank water.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And you, as a 4.5-year-old child, you could have been easily the victim of that, because children get affected very quickly. They have low immune system, low energy. But alhamdulillah. At what age did you decide that you would want to become a medical professional?
I think probably 8 years old. 8 years old. I remember seeing a very serious car accident, and the person dying at the site of, and I remember thinking that it would be nice to do medicine.
Fantastic, really good. That's amazing. On that point, can I also say, this Ramadan, I've got a 10-year-old child, and when it comes to the weekend especially, we don't encourage them, during these school days. During the weekend, if his mother doesn't wake him up on Friday night for suhoor, he cries the next morning. Amma, why didn't you wake me up? Well, I called you 4 times. You don't wake up. What can I do? So if children say 9, 10, what's for the ages, if they wanted to keep a fast, how damaging would it be? Or would it be okay if they can keep 1 or 2 fasts? What advice would you give to mom and dad to 10, 11, 12-year-old children? Medically, is there anything to worry about?
I was going to speak very specifically from a medical point of view. We all know that fasting is obligatory after puberty. We all know that. But I think the parents know their child best. If you think that your child is capable of fasting 1 fast or 2 fasts, medically, their kidney, if they are healthy, they will be able to retain water and keep in good health for a fast of 20 hours. And that's quite a very long fast. A fast of 20 hours is taxing for you and I. And I would say that it will not harm them if they have healthy kidneys. The hunger and the other psychological side of things is entirely a different issue. If the child wants to fast and the parents are happy to support it, then I think that is perfectly fine. 10, 11.
That is really good. I think our screen gone blank for a moment. Brothers and sisters, you've been listening to Dr. Muhammad Didi, who is a pediatric consultant, endocrinologist, specializing in hormones for children. And you're working at the great hospital of Al Zahay.
Yes, I do.
Children's Hospital.
Yes, I'm privileged to work.
How long have you been working at the Al Zahay now?
I've been a consultant endocrinologist at Al Zahay for Just a little over 22 years.
22 years, mashallah. I've been in Liverpool for nearly 20 years. So you've been here more 2 years prior to me. There is a question on there. It says Mo Salah. I'm sure it is not our great footballer Mo Salah. It says, in your opinion, why has the Muslim community gone backwards instead of being united like it used to be? Can you see that question?
Yes, I can. I don't think I have any particular expertise in answering the question. I'm not entirely sure that Muslims have been united since Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam departed. I'm not so sure that we have been united. So I'm sorry, Mo Salah. I'm not sure that we have been.
This is the fake Mo Salah, not the real Mo Salah.
No, it might even be the,
it might even
real
be
Mo
the real
Salah.
one.
Who knows?
The real one. I would like him on the show. If you are real Mo Salah of LFC, please come and join us on your show. We'd like to have you at the show. Of course, we won't tell your fans, otherwise the windows won't be there. So inshallah, maybe one day, you never know. We may be blessed with Mo Salah here at the Abdullah Kuliam studio, and Sadi Mani and the other Muslim players as
Inshallah.
well.
Inshallah.
So that's really good. I tell you what we'll do is, if we can save that question, Hamza, that question on Mo Salah for Sheikh Harun on Ask the Imam show, I'm sure we will have a debate on that, inshallah. So thank you so much, brothers, who are giving your comments on Facebook. It's so important to us that we know what you are thinking. Every question is relevant to us, to all of us here. Now, there's a Suleiman saying Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. Suleiman, again a great nasheed reader who he has his own show now every Saturday. He plays Kahoot. Is it Kahoot? Yeah.
We've lost that.
Children really. We've lost.
Every Thursday.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, we said we lost the telly.
Yeah, we lost the screen.
The TV keeps coming on and off. Not to worry. Technical problem will always be there, but human voice will never go down, will it? Will it, Dr. Didi?
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Right. My next question was really, as a medical professionals, there are lots of parents who would like their children to go into medicine. A lot of children who also wants to go into medicine. And it seems like it's a mountain to climb to get into the medical schools. Why do you think that is the case? I mean, why is it there is about 1,700 applications in the medical school and the intake is only about 120? And yet the government wants to bring so many doctors and nurses from abroad. Why couldn't they give more places to medical students? Is one thing. And the second thing is, why is it such a difficult task to get into medical schools? Whereas unlike other degrees, if you got your grades, you're in. Whereas medicine, you have to do a number of
other
different tests.
Yeah. Two aspects to that question. Before, if I may, may I suggest that we need Muslims from our community to go into fields outside medicine.
Okay, very interesting.
I would say medicine is a fantastic field. I would always say it is a wonderful field to go into.
Yes.
But we need people working in television, in communications, in social work, in all other fields, so that we can open up our Islam to others. So I think that's very important. But if you are interested in medicine and you want to do medicine, of course, come. I was like you. I wanted to do medicine. I wanted to do nothing else but medicine. Come. It's a wonderful career. The question was, why is it so difficult? I guess that is because there are a lot of people who want to do it. It's a question of demand and supply. And so today, you don't just need to have very high grades for medicine. You need to be able to do other things to demonstrate to the people who are selecting you for medicine to know that you are committed to medicine. So the difficulty in getting into medicine is because it is of high demand.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, because of the high demand, there is a necessity to demonstrate commitment to it. And that's why I would encourage young people to go and work in one of the caring professions, look after people, the elderly, people with dementia and things, so that you have an exposure to working with the needy and
the vulnerables.
And any vulnerable people. I mean, you can go and work with refugees.
Yes.
On a Saturday and a Sunday. We go and I still go and do some work with the refugees, and you can come and do this stuff and put it in your CV. If I was interviewing you, immediately, if I see that somebody works on a Saturday and a Sunday working with refugees, I would think he or she is a little different. Here is commitment. Yeah. If you go abroad and do some work before university in one of the caring professions, in teaching, in children with disabilities, I would take note of that. Here is someone. This is the sort of person I'm looking for.
Absolutely. So there you go. There's some very useful tips. Those who would like to secure their place in the medical schools is to do additional curriculum activity apart from your academic grades, and that does really teaches you. It teaches you under so many skills, isn't it? Social skills, communication skills, understanding people's. Be able to understand people, taking into people, and you can also almost say, is this the profession I want to go into? Because care profession is one of the most dedicated profession that you can ever imagine, and it needs to be 100% input, isn't it? That you have to be absolutely dedicated in that. My youngest sister is also a medical doctor, and that's one of the reasons why I came to Liverpool in the 2000 was to be with her here. And my mother said she's not going anywhere unless one of the brothers goes with her. And I said, okay, I'll jump. I know how hard, I used to work in schools. I said, I know how hard it is to get into medical school. Since you got that, and then let's do it. And when you talked about, you decided at the age of 8, my sister was saying, at the age of 8, she could literally draw the entire heart, the ventricles and all the, we still got that. And it's surprising, when I told her primary school head teacher, I said, Shamsu's got place in the medical schools. Maybe she said, I knew she would end up somewhere there because she had more sense than some of my primary school teachers. So I thought, I've got nothing else to say. So it's amazing if you are a child who's determined to do from as early age as that, you will make it. But would you say it is very important to be determined to go into any career from an early age?
I don't know that you need to be committed from an early age. But I do know that you have to be committed, and you have to, don't give up just because you slipped up.
Okay.
If you slip, you get up and you dust yourself and go forward again. Inshallah, Allah will give you success. Inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. That really, can you imagine, Dr. Didi, you've been with me almost 50 minutes, 55 minutes now. We're coming up to the hour. So we started 10 minutes late, so we're nearly coming up to the hour, and how time has flown. And we haven't touched many of the things that you wanted to talk about. So I'm going to have to bring you another day. Is that okay?
MashaAllah.
Would you like? Dr. Didi was pretty apprehensive, said, I'm coming here, I need all the questions. I said, there is no question, we will talk. I will ask, and you'll open your chest. And you've done that extremely well, alhamdulillah, I say. Like I said, rowing your boat, as always, without fear. I'm going to bring in our Imam, Sheikh Wadda Saleh, to do a short recitation and a dua of before we, Iftar is about 8:37, I think. So I'm going to bring him into the segment, if you'd like to come in. I was going to have half an hour, but I think having guests for 1 hour is good rather than, come on in, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum.
It was very interesting, mashallah. It's good to see the different aspect of the time that you came, and now it's different. It's much so easier, as you're saying. It's like subhanallah al-alim, everything's easier, there's less racism, everything's become easier to just grasp.
Yes.
And alhamdulillah, that's a ni'mah that we don't look at. But as soon as you go abroad, and you see the level of education, and you see how hard it is, people seek to, they travel, some of them travel over 5 miles just to go to a school, sit in a school. Some of them go over villages, some of them, subhanallah al-azim, we're still here and we get fined if we don't go to school.
Yeah.
That's a ni'mah in a way, it's pushing you to go into school, to push your kids.
Right. Absolutely right there. I've seen it in some places in the Himalayas and some places in some of the different countries. Children travel about nearly 6 hours journey before they get to schools. There and back 6 hours, and they're traveling, the Himalayas, the rivers, on a single, on those electric wires. They have to stand and they push. It's really heartbreaking how these young people go, and many of them do lose their lives because of falling off the cart, overloading the cart and things like that. Anyhow, so inshallah we've come to the end of our hour. Thank you so much, Dr. Didi, for being with us. I hope you enjoyed this little session.
I'm not so sure I enjoyed it, but thank you very much.
We enjoyed watching it.
We enjoyed it. That's the spirit. I certainly have enjoyed. You are my very first participant on this new show called 60 Minutes with Mumin, and I think I did more minutes than that. I'll have to negotiate with my director. I wish you well. I wish you a peaceful and happy Ramadan. If I would like to bring you towards the end of Ramadan, and this will be a show continue post Ramadan, I would like to bring you into the show with more information about how do we engage with communities, how do we mobilize youngsters, how do we encourage youngsters to take part in the work that we do. And you as a senior advisor to the First Mosque, inshallah, you have a lot to say and a lot to do. So Jazakumullah khairan again for breaking away from your busy schedules. Having said that, when I spoke to you, you felt very relaxed and you were, when you're talking to me, you didn't feel like you were very busy. So I thought it's time to do the kill,
Absolutely not. I was up to this. I actually switched off my computer and I was doing some work.
Oh, brilliant. See, one of the greatest quality of a doctor is they never panic and they're always calm. And that is, you can never tell whether they're under stress or not, but they always have a smile and a calmness in them. And as a child, I've always heard that the doctor cures half the ailment by sweet talk and the smile. The half the cure is in the talk. Am I right in saying that, Dr.
Well, Allah gives the cure, but Allah, we are the instruments of that. The smile is the instrument.
Yes. It's amazing, So, okay, a short recitation and a dua. Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن هذا كان لكم جزاء وكان سعيكم مشكورا إنا نحن نزلنا عليك القرآن تنزيلا فاصبر لحكم ربك ولا تطع منهم آثما أو كفورا واذكر اسم ربك بكرة وأصيلا ومن الليل فاسجد له وسبحه ليلا طويلا إن هؤلاء يحبون العاجلة ويذرون وراءهم يوما ثقيلا نحن خلقناهم وشددنا أسرهم وإذا شئنا بدلنا أمثالهم تبديلا إن هذه تذكرة فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه سبيلا وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله إن الله كان عليما حكيما يدخل من يشاء في رحمته والظالمين أعد لهم عذابا أليما صدق الله العظيم.
MashaAllah, it's a short dua.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد في الأولين وصل على سيدنا محمد في الآخرين وصل على سيدنا محمد حتى ترث الأرض ومن عليها وأنت خير الوارثين. اللهم تقبل صيامنا وقيامنا وركوعنا وسجودنا. اللهم تقبل منا رمضان وبلغنا رمضان وكل رمضان وبلغنا بعزتك ليلة القدر يا أرحم الراحمين واجعلنا فيها من المغفورين من المرحومين ولا تجعلنا من المحرومين ولا تجعلنا ممن استهوته الشياطين فشغلته بالدنيا عن الدين فأصبح من الخاسرين. اللهم ارحم المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم ارحمنا وارحم والدينا ووالدي والدينا ولمن كان له حقا علينا. اللهم كما آمنا بمحمد ولم نره فلا تفرق بيننا وبينه حتى تدخلنا مدخله واسقنا من يديه الشريفتين شربة ماء لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار واختم لنا بالصالحات خير الأعمال برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. وصل اللهم وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Just to remind the viewers, Jazakumullah khair, that tomorrow, which is the 15th Ramadan, we have a special Ramadan appeal on TV1 Sky 781. So please join us and encourage all your friends to ring in to the studio and make a donation. We are trying to buy, which is help restore and expand England's first ever mosque. So we're trying to buy the next door building of the masjid, which is about 75,000 square foot. Please help us to buy the next door building. So the live appeal tomorrow is on TV1 at 781, Sky 781. Please go to that from 6 o'clock up until Fajr time. So it's a long time duration. Brother Imam Ajmal Masroor will be doing it from London, and inshallah hopefully we'll be here from the Kuliam studio and in Liverpool. So please do not forget to go to our YouTube channel, subscribe the channel, press the bell button. That will remind you every time we come in the air. It's called Q Media. It's called Q Media. And of course, go to our Facebook, like it and share the Facebook as well. Jazakumullah khairan. If you have not received the Ramadan guide, which is very beautiful and very enlightening, the information about the last 10 days, about the Laylatul Qadr nights, also the night of power, and also the do's and don'ts, the misconceptions about Ramadan, all has been highlighted in here. So you can have loads of information about. And if you have not received one, give us a call or give us your address. We'll send you one, inshallah, free of charge, of course. In the masjid, Dr. Didi, when I said in the masjid in Taraweeh time, this is costing £1. Who would like to give me £1, or how many ever you'd like to sponsor? Dr. Piddy put his hands up first night and said, I'll do 100. Wow, amazing. And the second time when he was around, another 100. Am I right, Dr. Didi? We put your hands up twice.
Inshallah. You shouldn't talk about
it. He doesn't like talking about
but I know he doesn't like this. He hasn't said anything.
But in a way, he's a
what we're saying
is
he's a man who has generous heart, who will do for the Muslim Ummah. You're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're doing it for the sake of Muslim Ummah, inshallah. And I hope there are people who are watching do become like Dr. Didi with a generous heart. And again, a final word to say, I want to thank our young production director, Hamza. Please make dua for him. And of course, our volunteer pilot brother, Captain Shagur Bhai is here as well. So thank you both of you helping us behind the scene. Thank you, Sheikh Fadal. Inshallah, we will have you on a segment. Join me next Monday, every Monday at 7 p.m., 60 minutes with Mumin Khan. I'll have another dynamic, a special person to be interviewed, and you'll get more
Inshallah.
information.
A better person, inshallah.
Not a special, I don't think we can replace Dr.
Assalamu alaikum wa
Assalamu
rahmatullahi
alaikum
wa
wa
barakatuh.
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There we go.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I'm Mumin Khan from Britain's First Mosque.
السلام عليكم أنا رحاب حسن من مسجد عبد الله كويليام.
With your generous support, last Ramadan, we fed over 15,000 people having their iftar and suhoor.
زي ما انتم شايفين احنا في رمضان بنحضر وجبات يومية لإفطار 500 فرد، زائد ان بنوصل للمنازل صندوق احتياجات في الأكل، أكل يكفي أسبوع لعيلة. عيلة أكتر من 3 أفراد بنفضل إن إحنا نعطيهم الأكل هم بيطبخوه في البيت.
In this world, you can buy buildings, you can have lots of investments. It's all materialistic world. But what you really need to do is to buy your investment in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
فلو سمحتوا حاولوا إن أنتوا تساعدوا في عمل الخير وتساعدوا الأسر المحتاجة وتساعدونا إن إحنا نوصل للهدف إن إحنا نطعم 20,000 في رمضان.
Your contribution would go a very long way in feeding them. Please come forward and donate what you can to support the vulnerable, the needy and the poor in this blessed month of Ramadan.